Hey there, everyone. Welcome. I'm Kelly Filetto of the Grit, Guts, and Courage Show. And this is the show where we talk to people who have overcome something and they had the grit and guts and courage to get through it. So today, my guest is Michelle Abraham. And so, welcome, Michelle.
Well, thanks, Kelly, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I know I'm excited to have you because you just told me a real quick snippet of what your story is. And so I'm really excited to hear more because I know it's going to be a crazy, impactful story. So we're just going to jump right into it. So go for it, Michelle.
All right. Well, I'm going to take you guys all the way back to when I was a teenager graduating high school. And I graduated high school with kind of like, oh my God, finally school's ending. Finally, I'm out of high school. I think I was ready to graduate like many years before I did. So anyways, I had the fortunate opportunity to represent Canada with Girl Guides in the summer between grade 10 and grade 11. So I was chosen as the one girl to represent British Columbia. And I went with 10 other girls from representing different provinces across Canada and two leaders. And we stayed at our chalet, which is the Girl Guide place in Switzerland. And we spent 3 weeks in Switzerland. And I fell in love with Switzerland. It was the coolest place ever. So between that and a trip to Italy in grade 11 for our school social studies program, I was like hooked on Europe and hooked on traveling. And so during my year 12 of high school, I was like, looking at what I wanted to do for school and realized that the program that I really wanted to take was called Outdoor Recreation Business Management. And, it sounds like a lot of fun. It was a lot of hiking and backpacking and kayaking. Just, sounds like just the type of university college that I wanted to go to. It sounds like a lot of fun. And the problem with the program is that they only take 30 kids a year into the program, and you had to be 19 years old. And I'm like, shoot, I'm not going to be 19 for another year. So after I graduated high school, at this like time to do like, what am I going to do for this year? And I really wanted to get into the school, but I didn't want to just go take English and geography or something in college for the heck of it. So I kind of convinced my counselor at school to help me find somewhere to go do that's something fun and exciting. And so she hooked me up with a family that was looking for an au pair. So that's a nanny that's, lives with the family. So I lived with a family in Switzerland day after I graduated high school. I got the job. I was on my way to Europe. I lived with this family, and the family was it was an interesting experience, let's just put it that way. Integrated into a different culture, into a family. The husband, thank God, was from Canada, so he could relate to a little bit of the struggles I was having. Like, I couldn't wear my sweatpants to work as a nanny. I had to wear dress up clothes. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, but they have a higher standard of things in Switzerland. And I understand. So he helped me kind of understand his wife and the family. So we had a great time. I had a wonderful year. I met all sorts of great friends because every family had to have an au pair. So having this time of my life's on a high, and my two friends from high school decide that they're going to come and spend the summer with me, and we're going to backpack around all through Europe. So we had plans to go to about 12 different countries in a matter of 8 weeks. And so I was so excited when they showed up at my doorstep in Switzerland. I was like, yes, like my girls are here. We got our backpacks on. We left the family. Thanked them for a wonderful year. And then we went on an incredible journey. And we went to Germany, and we went to the Netherlands, and we went to England, and we went to France. And we were in the Czech Republic. And while we went back to like the south of France, we landed at this place called Cap d'Aille. And Cap d'Aille was this like amazing, like it had old kind of looking castle kind of place, and it was a hostel, and it had this really long cement walkway out to this circle in the middle of the ocean. And so my friend and I, we walked out there one day, we sat down, and it was August 11th, 1999, I believe. And we sat down, and it was a long time ago. This is dating me here. We sat down and we wrote down our next trip. Like, we were having so much fun. We were about 6 weeks into this trip, and we wrote down all the cool things that we wanted to do on another trip. This time we were going to go to Africa, and we were going to go to Central America and South America. So we wrote this all down, we dated it, we signed it, and then that day we learned that there was a solar eclipse. So this was around 11 in the morning, and there was a solar eclipse that morning. So we were sitting out there watching this solar eclipse happen. And then later that evening, we went out to dinner, and her parents met in the country of Monaco, which was just right like 5 minutes from where we were staying. So we went over to Monaco, checked out the lights at night and all the flashing Lamborghinis and fancy cars and everything. It was pretty cool. And we were going to catch a train home. And my other friend and I, we decided we were going to head back. She wasn't feeling well, and I'd broken my toes playing Uzo volleyball in Greece a few days before. So I couldn't walk. So I wanted to make sure I didn't miss the train. So I had to walk back. So her and I caught the train, and we left our other friend Cecilia with some people that we just met traveling. And so we're like, okay, we'll see you back at the hostel. They had a strict curfew. We'll see you back there. So my friend Robin and I go back to the hostel, and we wake up in the middle of the night to a knock on the door. And it was like, Madame, open the door. And we're like, oh, open the door. Okay, what's happening? She's like, you have to come with us. There's been an accident. And I was like, remember back to before we went out for dinner that night, I was out on the balcony and had this terrible habit. I just smoked. So I was out smoking on the balcony, and I was thinking, my brain was kind of wondering, and I had this premonition of an accident happening where someone was going to break their arm or something was going to happen, to have to pack up all the bags and go home. And then I snapped out of that premonition, and I was like, well, that was weird. I'm like, that's not going to happen. And off we went out that night. So sure enough, at 3 o'clock in the morning, when our door rang, I thought, oh my gosh, there's been an accident. Maybe this is what I was thinking about earlier. So I grabbed her sweater and her bag, and we went off to the hospital. They didn't speak very good English there. We didn't speak very good French. We walked into a hospital room, and we saw the guy that we'd been traveling with sitting there crying, and our friend was nowhere to be seen. And so with some miscommunication and some back and forth, we found out our friend had been hit by a train that night. And the two of them had missed the train, the last train home to the hostel. And they walked through a tunnel on the way home, thinking that they missed the last trains. There were no more trains, not realizing that France has trains going through it all the time at Mach speed. So they went through a tunnel, and their train came, she went one way, he went the other way. He was totally fine, and she was killed. And so that moment would change the trajectory of my life. And I know now that, she's been with me all this time and helping me create the life that I have now, and helping me help other people get their voice out there in podcasting. But I learned at that moment at 19 that you don't know how long you have to live, and to make the most of what you do have on this earth. So I spent many years, probably avoiding healing by distracting myself with lots of adventures and bungee jumping and skydiving, and living life to like the extreme other extreme, because I don't know how long you have. But I miss her a lot. That was a long time ago. But the amount of lessons I learned from her in that short amount of time that we were together, and that I see her, I see signs of her, and I hear her with me all the time, has really helped form and shape the business that I have today, and the need to help people get their voice out there in the world, because they have this message that is, they can't leave this earth with that message still in their heart.
Oh my God, what an incredible story. I can't imagine what you must have gone through, when you realized what had happened. Like, that just incredible.
Yeah, and I can tell I've done a lot of healing recently, because I usually get really emotional when I tell that story. And now I don't feel as emotional, because I know that she's always with me. And I know that, she's sent messages through my Akashic records to me like several times, and lots of things. And, I remember having my Akashic records read, and Deanne was reading them, and she said, this is going to sound weird, but Cecilia says, don't worry about her. It's fucking amazing on the other side. And I was like, it's not something Deanne would say, but it's definitely something Cecilia would have said. So I love that I got to kind of hear that, like her voice in coming through. And so, I know she's been with me and really helped me from the other side. And it was a tough thing at 19 years old to kind of go through and experience. But it's definitely put my life on a trajectory of, knowing that, there's so much more to living, so much more to life, and, live it without regrets, and without wishing you had done something that you didn't do, or doing something that you wish you hadn't.
Right. So how did you get through it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I moved a lot and I traveled a lot. And I think that was my way of avoiding being home. Because when Robin and I got home from that trip, our friends that weren't there with us kind of were pissed off because, they didn't get to experience what we experienced with her. Like, she had really come out of her shell and blossomed over the summer. She found a boy that she really liked, like had her first kiss. And, we were sharing all these amazing things she had done, and they kind of got a bit jealous that they didn't get to experience that. And so so for me, I think it was easier for me to continue venturing on and like go to other countries and other places. And I never actually did that whole list of things that we had signed that earlier that day. That list of things, it was so crazy to look back that we'd signed it that day and that morning before she passed. And it was exactly 11 hours later that she passed. And so we had so I have this list of a trip that one day I will take, but I didn't have the courage to take that exact trip, but I did continue traveling on. I think for me it was easier to be away and meeting new people and having fun and doing those crazy adventures than it was to be at home. And so it took me a lot of years, and it wasn't until I started speaking and doing podcasting and sharing that story that helped me heal. So evolving out loud by sharing that story over time has helped me heal from that.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so a young girl comes and sits in front of you and tells you about a tragic accident that happened to her friend. What would you tell her?
Oh, a good question. I would tell her that everything's going to be okay. And, that person had a mission here on earth and they completed that. And that's why they left. And now they're here as your cheerleader on the other side, supporting you on whatever you're doing. So just know that you have support and backup, and they're watching over you as you go through your life.
So what's the gift in the story? I know that you talked a little bit about it, but what is the overall gift in your story with her?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think the overall gift is learning that life is short from a young age. Had I not really learned that lesson, I probably would have settled for mediocre or settled for a life that was okay, But because I saw how short and how quickly life can be taken away, not taking things for granted and not settling for something that you don't absolutely love in your life, I think has been really important for me. So I think that's the gift that came out of there, is that you don't know the hand that you're dealt until you don't have that choice anymore. So going and doing all the things that you want to do and not leaving anything left to a bucket list when you're 80 years old, I think is really important to me. And I feel like that was a gift, and learning that lesson at such a young age.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's we go through life and we don't always know why these situations happen to us.
Mhm.
And something happened to us and it's like, okay, what is that gift? And like I lost a baby at 28 weeks. And it was like, well, what's the gift in that? Like losing a baby is tragic.
Yeah.
Um, but the gift in it was that if we would have had her, we would have stopped at the two girls. We wouldn't
Mm.
have, gone on to having the two boys that we had. So, and the gift is she's in heaven with my dad and, my
Yeah.
grandparents and, the rest of her family and friends. And we've got the boys here on earth. Right.
Mm.
So, yeah. Okay. So what kind of words of wisdom would you give someone?
Oh my gosh. I think the words of wisdom I would love to impart the readers and listeners with is that um, I think you have an opportunity every day that you wake up. You have a new opportunity to live the life how you imagined. And, there's that Henry Thoreau quote, go confidently in the direction of your dreams, live the life that you've always imagined. And I didn't know this, but he actually graduated from Harvard, and I got an opportunity to share that quote as part of my talk when I was speaking at Harvard last year. And it was a quote that my parents put in my graduating yearbook. The parents put a quote with your baby picture in the yearbook. And it's a quote that's always been on my heart. as something that go confidently in the direction of your dreams. And each step that you take and every step you towards that you get, the more it comes to reality. So going confidently in that direction and knowing that you have the world at your fingertips and you can unfold this amazing life. And we luckily woke up to a life that we weren't happy with about 10 years ago, so about 6 years ago now, and we've now recreated the life that we love, and it's been such a gift. And so just knowing that, knowing what you want and taking steps towards what you want is what I want to leave everyone with today.
Well, yeah, because you live on an island.
Yes,
So
I live off the grid. I drive a boat to my house. We live in a small town. Like it's kind of like a fairy tale little place that we live in right now. And it would never, it's in my wildest dreams, we never would have lived here. But it was something that just felt like we were getting little nudges about it and little nudges until we had a flood in our house one day. We had to move out of our house and we sold the house and ended up here. And our kids are so blessed to be able to take a boat to the school bus. And, it's a kind of a unique situation. So, and then that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't always going confidently into the direction of a dream, a life that I really was excited about.
Right. That is so cool. I loved hearing about your, where you lived. I thought, oh my God, that is so crazy. Most people think that you have to live in town, you have to live in city, and you have to have all the, the gadgets and the power. And then, your world is all internet based too. And
Yeah.
so there's times when I'm thinking, how is she handling all that? She lives on an
Right.
island.
Yeah, and get this, Kelly, if we drive from my house to where we get groceries from, there's not even a single stoplight or stop sign. And there's not even another car on the road between the here and there. And it's a 20-minute drive. That's how far out we live. And then I get off the boat and I get off the ferry and I get into Vancouver and I'm just like, wow, like I can't handle that kind of like craziness anymore. Like I've really gotten used to this slower paced life and more nature and more family time.
That's fantastic. Okay, so Michelle, I know you do podcasting and everything, but why don't you share with the audience what you do and how they can work with you?
Sure. So if you have a message that you're just dying to get out there in the world, we are the team that can do it for you. So we like to call ourselves like the Hay House of podcasting. We work with people who have um a positive impact message that they want to get out there in the world. We work with we call them our ACEs, authors, coaches, experts, entrepreneurs, and speakers. And we help you launch your show, and not only launch your show, but we then manage it for you so that you can just do the recording, what you do best. And so our company is called Amplify You. We've launched over 400 shows in the last few years, and we've been doing this for about 10 or 11 years. And we absolutely love helping get your message out there in the world, but not only just getting out there in the world, creating a podcast that works to also fulfill your business. So we're using the podcast as a tool that you can open doors to relationships and bring business back and bring more people back into your business. So using the podcast as a integral tool to grow your business is something that we love to talk about.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about you guys, is that you're always teaching people how to monetize their podcast, because I've done it before too, where I've been on a podcast guest and not make any money on it at all. And so that's one of the things I love about you guys, is how you teach people how to monetize it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, so Michelle, how can people get in touch with you?
Sure. So the best place to go is check out some of the shows we work with at amplifyunetwork.com. And Amplify You is spelled AMPLIFYOU.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, guys, so there we go. What another incredible story of grit, guts, and courage. And so we want to thank you for listening. And also keep in mind, we've got a book. So we've got the Grit, Guts, and Courage book, and Michelle's story is in that book too. So check it out. And thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye.